It all began on a morning so silent, so hauntingly still, that even the wind seemed reluctant to disturb the snowdrifts piling against the windows. Kareem Morrow had been living in the Bitterroot Mountains for a little over 4 months, tucked deep in solitude inside an old friend's abandoned hunting cabin. It wasn't just a change of scenery, it was an escape. An attempt to stitch together the shredded remnants of a life spent documenting chaos through a camera lens. Once a celebrated wilderness photographer, Kareem had spent years traversing the globe, from lush rainforests dripping with life to war-torn cities drowning in sorrow. His photos had captured the beauty and brutality of the world, but somewhere along the line, the weight of what he saw had begun to unravel him from the inside. The roar of conflict, the cries of children, the hollow stares of dying wildlife, they stayed with him louder than gunfire. He came here seeking silence. Real silence. The kind that hummed beneath snow-packed trees and whispered through frost-covered evergreens. But on that morning, as he stirred the embers in the wood stove and warmed his hands near the rising flame, the silence was shattered, not with sound but with presence. A slow, deliberate noise echoed from outside, a scraping, dragging rhythm against the wooden porch. Not footsteps. Something heavier, stranger. Kareem paused mid-motion, his heart rising in his chest. He moved cautiously to the frost-lined window and peered through the blurred glass. And there, just beyond the warped panes, stood a creature he never expected to see. A bobcat. Not just any bobcat. This one was strikingly wild, dusted with snow and sap, her coat matted from the storm, her eyes wide and determined. Between her teeth, clenched tightly, was a weather-beaten canvas bag. One of the kind used by hunters or hikers, torn at the seams and scorched along the sides. She was dragging it slowly across the porch, each movement labored, her breath visible in the frigid air. The sight rooted Kareem to the spot. Every instinct told him to stay inside, to pull the curtains, maybe bang a pot or make noise to scare the animal away. But he didn't. Something in the bobcat's eyes told him this wasn't aggression. It was desperation. She wasn't snarling. She wasn't pacing or posturing like a predator. She was delivering something. Kareem opened the door slowly, letting the cold slap him in the face, the wind biting at his ankles. The bobcat didn't move. She only lowered the bag gently onto the porch and stepped back into the snow. Her body swayed slightly, her tail twitching once, twice. She didn't leave. He just sat watching. Waiting. Kareem approached the bag slowly, knees bending as he crouched beside it. The zipper had been torn nearly off, the fabric chewed and clawed. There were blood stains, old and new, smudged across the canvas. This bag had a story, and it wasn't kind. As he pulled it open with chilled fingers, something inside stirred. A small shape. There's breath. It was a bobcat cub, no more than a few weeks old, curled into itself like a fallen leaf. Its eyes were crusted, blinking sluggishly. Its limbs didn't move much. Its breathing barely lifted its ribcage. Yet it was alive. Against all odds, it was alive. Kareem looked up at the mother again. She was still watching, eyes soft but alert. He understood then. She wasn't here to attack or defend. He had come to ask. To plead in the only way she knew how. Kareem wrapped the cub in the hem of his flannel shirt, holding the frail creature close to his chest, and retreated into the warmth of the cabin. He didn't shut the door completely. Some quiet, ancient instinct told him not to. Inside, he moved with a careful urgency. He laid the cub beside the stove, wrapped him in dry towels, and placed an old heating pad beneath the bundle to provide warmth. A shallow bowl of warm water sat nearby, untouched for hours. The cub, weak as he was, barely stirred. Kareem sat beside him in silence, watching his slow breaths, unsure whether to hope or brace for grief. Outside, the mother still waited. She stayed there as the snow thickened and the trees blurred into gray silhouettes, her form nearly invisible against the storm. And when she finally moved, she did so with calm resolve, turning away and disappearing into the trees like a ghost made of fur and frost. That night, Kareem didn't sleep. The storm howled through the mountain passes, shaking the windows and whistling through the chimney. Kareem checked the cub every few minutes. Around midnight, he stepped outside and saw the bowl of water he had left on the porch was gone, dragged 10 feet into the snow and licked clean. No signs of a fight. No blood. Just paw prints circling gently. She had returned. Quietly. Wordlessly. Kareem left another bowl the next night. And the next. And each time it vanished, only to reappear hours later emptied, shifted, touched by wild paws. The mother never tried to come closer again, but Kareem knew she was always nearby. Watching, hoping, trusting. He named the cub Ash, not aloud, not officially, but in his heart. For the fire he had survived. For the remnants of something burning that still glowed faintly inside him. He fed Ash tiny portions of warm broth, mashed apples and cooked rice. He cleaned his eyes gently with a cloth and wiped his flank with cotton soaked in boiled water. Ash never fought him. He barely moved, but each day his breathing grew stronger, his eyes a little clearer. By the third day Ash lifted his head when Kareem entered the room. On the fifth he tried to stand. Kareem sat beside him each evening telling stories. Stories of rivers and deserts, of broken cities and lost people, of laughter and fear and all the moments Kareem had tried to freeze into photographs. He didn't know if the cub understood, but Ash listened. And every night just before dawn the mother came. She never stepped on the porch again, but her presence was a promise. Her bowls disappeared. Sometimes new scratches appeared on the pine bark. Sometimes fresh snow was disturbed in shapes only wild creatures left behind. Kareem began to leave the porch light off on purpose. Not out of fear but out of respect. Then the storm came. It arrived like an avalanche, sudden and violent. The wind was a living thing, slamming against the walls, screaming through the forest. The snow fell in sheets so thick it erased the sky. The power went out. The stove became their only warmth. Kareem piled the firewood high, lit lanterns and held Ash close to his chest under a pile of blankets. The cub nuzzled into his ribs, trembling faintly. Then a sound broke through the storm. A low, heavy thump against the door. Kareem's body tensed. He rose, opened the door slowly. And there she was. The mother. Drenched, trembling, her fur frozen in clumps. She didn't cross the threshold. She didn't growl. She only looked inside, past Kareem, past the lantern and locked eyes with her cub. Ash stirred, lifting his head. They held each other's gaze and time itself stilled. Then the mother stepped forward, gently placing one paw on the spot where she had laid the bag. She bowed her head once slowly and turned. She walked into the storm. Kareem closed the door. And then he wept. Not for death. Not even for relief. But for what he understood. She had let go. In peace. In trust. Kareem fell to his knees. He opened the pack. Ash stumbled out, sniffed the air and walked to her side. He pressed his face into her fur. No whimper. Just presence. And when Ash returned to Kareem's side, they continued the walk together, without a word. At the outpost, a tired man named Doug opened the door. He took one look and said, "You're not supposed to be out here alone." Kareem replied, "I wasn't." When wildlife control arrived and tried to take Ash, Kareem stood his ground. "You don't understand," he said. "She didn't die afraid. She died knowing I would protect him." Doug backed him up. And after a long pause, the officials relented. Spring came early. Ash grew fast. He chased shadows, explored trees, never strayed far. Kareem never tried to tame him, just loved him. Quietly. Fiercely. One morning they returned to the clearing. The moss had grown thicker. The air smelled green. Sacred. Ash walked ahead full of grace. And then, a movement. In the brush. A smaller cub. A new mother. Not the same but close. Watching. Trusting. For a moment time bowed. And then they vanished. Kareem didn't speak. Some moments don't need words. He rested his hand on Ash's back. The forest breathed around them. And everything felt exactly as it should be.